All right, folks, I am Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage. We'll take it now to some Cowboys rumors. And first up here, let's talk about Rico Gathers. Is he behind in his development? And yeah, 4 stars on this one here, folks. Come to us from Jason Garrett. So don't yell at me, go yell at Garrett this time. Garrett said that Rico needs more football work and that 5 practices a day wouldn't be enough for Rico. I get called a Gathers hater a lot. I accept that as a reality. But the way the Cowboys talk about Rico Gathers gives me a lot of pause about him making the roster, even though I do want him on the roster. Garrett says that the passing game is good for Rico, but the ground game needs work. If he needs 5 practices a day to get ready to go for this year, I think that's a bad sign for him making the roster, which we'll dive into more depth later on in the show. All right, number 2 then, Cole Beasley. Is he an outside wide receiver? We'll give this one 2 stars for now. There is some truth to it, but I don't know if it's actually going to be the route the Cowboys end up going. So during OTAs, Cole Beasley lined up a little bit more as an outside wide receiver than you would typically expect him to do. Last year, about 87% of his snaps came in the slot. He was working a lot more on the outside during Wednesday's open OTAs. That's an indication, at least to me, the Cowboys want to move all the receivers around. Get Gallup, get Hearns, T-Will if he's on the roster, into the slot more, and allow everyone to get more reps and definitely spread that ball around. I don't know if he'll actually play as a true outside wide receiver, but just keep an eye on that. I still think he's going to be the main slot guy for the Cowboys. Our next rumor does indeed involve Dez Bryant and if he will return to the Cowboys. Before we get into that, though, a word from our sponsor, The Guild. Of course this is fake news, guys. Dez Bryant is not coming back to the Cowboys. That bridge has been burnt. There was the article from Inside the Star saying how it's unlikely, but hey, it could happen. They were saying there was a chance. I actually don't think there's any chance that Dez Bryant comes back to the Cowboys. For one, the relationship between the Cowboys front office and the staff and Dez Bryant is not exactly good right now. Even if there are injuries or a T-Will gets cut, I think the Cowboys would look elsewhere. A, I don't think the Cowboys want Dez Bryant back, and B, I don't think Dez Bryant wants to come back to the Cowboys after everything that happened. I think that bridge has been burnt. Maybe it'll get rehabbed down the road once Dez's career is over in terms of getting into the potentially Ring of Honor, but I don't see Dez coming back right now at all. There's just no way. There's too much bad blood there. Of course, I do want to know from you guys if you want Dez back on the Cowboys. Look, I thought it was a mistake to cut him. I know you guys know that. But at this point, I don't think it's a good thing for either side. It's time to move on and make it a clean start for the Cowboys wide receivers. All right, number 4, Zack Martin. Is an extension coming? I still think it is, and we're still going to give it 3 stars. But the longer we go along with this, the more concerned that I get about the Cowboys and Zack Martin. This really should not be an overly complicated deal. The Cowboys say that we think Zack Martin is the best guard in the NFL and should be paid like it. Zack Martin says, pay me like the best guard in the NFL. We know what that costs money-wise. Why hasn't it happened? And oh, by the way, Martin is sitting out OTAs, and the 2 sides haven't spoken in over a week. That I don't like at all. Just go get it done. Pay him $13.5 million a year. Make him higher paid than Andrew Norwell. Yeah, it's a lot. It's worthwhile. Zack Martin, at least in my eyes, is the best guard in the NFL. No disrespect to those other guys, but you got to get Zack Martin paid. Let's just make it happen, have him be a long-term option for the Cowboys on the offensive line like everyone wants him to be. Speaking of the offensive line, Chaz Green, is he a guard only? I'm going to give it 2 stars for now. He has only been working at guard during OTAs in place of Zack Martin, who is holding out. But I don't know if that's where Green will play when we get to training camp. I still think there's a chance he gets some tackle work as well. He's a tackle by trade. I don't know if putting him at guard actually gives him the best chance to make a roster. The Cowboys are trying to give Chaz Green another shot. He was a 3rd-round pick. They invested in him. They want him to be an option for the Cowboys on the offensive line. I just don't know if he's going to be a long-term piece for them going forward. All right, folks, if it's your first time watching the show and you don't know what the stars mean, here's your explanation. 0 stars is the number of fights Odell Beckham won against the net. it's fake news. 1 star, a small shred of truth. It could come true, but don't quite buy it yet. 2 stars means people are talking firmly in that rumor category. 3 stars means it's pretty likely, not quite set in stone, but it should come true. And 4 stars means that Zeke Eaton, it's a fact. On to one final rumor today, then we'll get into some players who could be cut. Is Jaylon Smith going to move to outside linebacker? I'm still going to give this one 3 stars because I think this is where Smith will play in base packages. Now, Smith finally received some reps at outside linebacker during OTAs. The Cowboys, though, say they haven't moved anyone yet at linebacker. They're going to keep Smith at the middle linebacker spot for now. I still think, though, that when we get to week 1, in base packages, it will be Sean Lee at the weak side, the Will, Leighton Vander Esch at the middle at the Mike, and Jaylon Smith at the Sam at the strong side linebacker spot. And then on nickel packages, I think you'll see Smith and Vander Esch rotate a little bit. So he'll get some outside linebacker reps. He just might not be the long-term option there for the Cowboys. Speaking of Smith and Vander Esch, who will have more tackles this year? Give me a heart for LVE and a like for Jaylon. Other good news on Jaylon, at least he says, he feels faster than he was at Notre Dame, ran a sub-4 in the 20-yard shuttle. At least he says that. We'll see how he fares in pads and on the field during games, but that is good news for his rehabilitation.